ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मायं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम् वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुन् श्रीयुतापतकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं स्वावधूतं परिजनासाहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवम् श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते सप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुश्रुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna, Shashwin. Thank you so much for the wonderful Mangalacharan. We are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto. Today we are starting a new chapter, chapter number 6, and then verse number 1. And then the chapter heading is Purusha Sukta confirmed. So, anyone wants to read the Sanskrit?
I can read, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please can accept my humble obeisances of Srila Prabhupada. Mukham karoti vachalam tangum landayate gurum yat kripatamaham bande Shri Guru Dina Taranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Ishwaram Narayanam Namastritya Naram Saiva Narotamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Jayamudiraye Rashtakayasya Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavati Sevaya Bhagavatu Sanskritir Bhaktir Bhavati Naishti. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we are reading from Canto 2, Chapter 6, the Purusha Sukta confirmed, Text 1. Brahmo Vacha Vacham Vahnirmukham Shaitram Chandasam Saptadhatavaha Havya Britananam Viva Sarvarasascha Rasasya cha. So do we do the word to word also, Prabhuji?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. Brahmo Vacha, Lord Brahma said, Vacham of the voice, Vahne of fire, Mukham the mouth, Setram the generating center, Chandasam of the Vedic hymns, such as Gayatri, Sapta 7, Dhatavaha, skin and 6 other layers, Kavya Kavya, offerings for the demigods and the forefathers, Amrita, food for human beings, Ananam, of all sorts of foodstuff, Jiva, the tongue, Sarva, all, Rasasya, of all delicacies, Cha also. Translation. Lord Brahma said, the mouth of the Virat Purusha, the universal form of the Lord, is the generating center of the voice, and the controlling deity is fire. His skin and 6 other layers are the generating centers of the Vedic things, and his tongue is a productive center of different foodstuffs and delicacies for offering to the demigods, the forefathers, and the general mass of people. Purport: the opulences of the universal form of the Lord are described herein. It is said that his mouth is the generating center of all kinds of voices, and its controlling deity is a fire demigod. And his skin and other 6 layers of bodily construction are the representative generating centers of the 7 kinds of Vedic things, like the Gayatri. Gayatri is the beginning of all Vedic mantras, and it is explained in the first volume of Srimad Bhagavatam. Since the generating centers are the different parts of the universal form of the Lord, and since the form of the Lord is transcendental to the material creation.
Hello.
You cannot hear? Cannot hear you, Prabhuji. Are you muted? You're muted, Prabhuji.
Sorry, Mataji. Sorry, Mataji. I got another call. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. So it is to be understood that the voice, the tongue, the skin, etc., suggests that the Lord is in his transcendental form is not without them. The material voice, the energy of talking, of taking in foodstuff, is generated originally from the Lord. Such actions are but perverted reflections of the original reservoir. The transcendental situation is not without spiritual variegatedness. In the spiritual world, all the perverted forms of material variegatedness are fully represented in the original spiritual identity. The only difference is that material activities are contaminated by the free modes of material nature, whereas the potencies in the spiritual world are all pure because they are engaged in the unalloyed transcendental loving service of the Lord. In the spiritual world, the Lord is the sublime enjoyer of everything, and the living entities that are all engaged in his transcendental loving service without any contamination of the modes of material nature. The activities in the spiritual world are without any of the inebrities of the material world. But there is no question of impersonal voidness on the spiritual platform, as suggested by the impersonalists. Devotional service is defined in the Narada Pancharatra as follows. Sarvopadi vinirmuktam tatparatvena nirmalam Rishikesha Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ryukshate. Originally, since all the senses are produced of the Lord's reservoir of senses, the sensual activities of the material world are to be purified by the process of devotional service, and thus the perfection of life can be attained simply by purifying the present position of our material activities. And the purifying process begins from the stage of being liberated from the conception of different designations. Every living entity is engaged in some sort of service, either for the self, or for the family, or for the society, country, etc. But, unfortunately, all such services are rendered due to material attachment. The attachment of the material affinity may be simply changed to be the service of the Lord, and thus the treatment of being freed from material attachment begins automatically. The process of liberation is therefore easier through devotional service than by any other method. For in the Bhagavad Gita 12.5, it is said that one is subjected to various kinds of tribulation if one is impersonally attached. Kleshodhikarasasesam avyakta sakta setasam. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji, for reading the verse and the translation and the purport. Translation again. Lord Brahma said, the mouth of the Virat Purusha, the universal form of the Lord, He is the generating center of the voice, and the controlling deity is fire. His skin and six other layers are the generating centers of the Vedic hymns, and his tongue is the productive center of different foodstuffs and delicacies for offering to the demigods, the forefathers, and the the general mass of people. So we can see that the second chapter, the sixth chapter of the second canto is begun, and Brahma is is beginning to glorify Krishna's Virata Purusha, Virata Rupa, and then he's explaining that how the mouth of the universal form is the generating center of the voice. So we are thinking that okay, we have a sound box, and then because of the sound box, the voice is coming out, and the voice is some singers are very nicely singing, some singers are have very popular, and some don't have a good voice, some have some have ordinary voice, and some have very good voice. So where is that voice is coming from? It is described here that the voice is coming from the Virata Purusha. So the opulences of the universal form of the Lord are described herein. It is said that his mouth is generating center for all kinds of voices. So and its controlling deity is fire demigod. So it's also explained here who is controlling deity of the sound box. So it is fire deity, fire demigod, and his skin and other his six layers of the bodily construction are representing generating centers for seven kinds of Vedic hymns. So Vedic hymns are chanted by the impersonalists. So they chant so many Vedic mantras, so many like the Gayatri mantra. There are so many other mantras. If you go to the ritualistic brahmanas who are reciting these mantras, they'll be reciting so many Vedic hymns. So the beginning of the Vedic hymns, all the beginning hymns is Gayatri mantra, and it is explained in the first volume of Srimad Bhagavatam. Since generating centers are all the different parts of universal form of the Lord, and since the form of the Lord is transcendental to the material creation, it is to be understood that the voice, the tongue, the skin, etc., suggest that the Lord in his transcendental form is not without them. So, in this case, we can understand that the original transcendental spiritual form is also with these attributes of the tongue, the skin, the touch, the feeling. So we all know that all these things are coming from the Lord. So his transcendental form is not without them. The material voice or the energy of taking in foodstuff is generated originally from the Lord. So it is also said in the Bhagavad Gita that I am the digestive juices in the stomach, because we think that okay, we are eating nice foodstuffs, we are enjoying the nice foodstuffs. Where is the taste? The power of taste is coming from. So Krishna is saying that Rasoham apsu kaunteya. So that means he's saying I am the taste in water. So what you are tasting, the tongue, the taste is given by Krishna. So such actions are but perverted reflections of the original reservoirs. So the transcendental situation is not without spiritual variegatedness. So many philosophers think that beyond the liberation, the liberated stage is a null and void activity. That means it's the zero activity is there. There is zero variegatedness, and then there is no activity there. It's but completely a bliss. It's only bliss. So it's also true that there is a Brahman realization. So people Prabhupada has often quoted these things that if you go to Brahma Jyoti, so there is, of course, there is liberation from the material activities, and then you get a sort of bliss in the Brahman platform. But that's not all in all that you'll start enjoying, but there is no variegatedness, and then because there is no variegatedness, you will not be able to enjoy consistently and continuously, because the nature of the spirit soul is always to be enjoying, always to be associated, always to be engaged in something. So because of this nature, we will be hankering for the service, because in this material world also we can see that without being served or be without doing our service, we will not be happy. If you are alone, let's say we are alone and then we are not doing any activity, we'll be providing, somebody has provided us everything, to food to eat, the mattress to sleep, and the house to live. Somebody is taking care of our needs. So it's not all in all. You can't just be idle and then you can be happy. So you have to interact with somebody, you have to do some service, you have to get up and do some activity. If you don't do activity, you will be just bored and then bored. It's like a jail. It like a if you have a jail, and then everything will be provided to you, and if you're not reacting or interacting to anyone, that will be just like a place where without any fun. So similarly, if you want to really have a spiritual enjoyment, we should have personal association. In the spiritual world, all the perverted forms of material variegatedness are fully represented in their original spiritual identity. So what we see as many material variegatedness, so we are seeing the variegated pleasures of madhurya rasa, vatsalya rasa, shanta rasa, dasya rasa. All these, we have relations with friends, we have relations with our parents, we have relations with our subjects, or juniors, and we have relations with our children, and we have relationship with our wife and husband. So similar variegatedness are fully there in the spiritual world, because we are a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. Because spiritual world, all the variegatedness are there. What we are seeing as all these rasas, what I just mentioned, the shanta rasa, dasya rasa, sakya rasa, vatsalya rasa, madhurya rasa. So these five rasas, the prime mellows, are there in the spiritual world also. But they are first, but material variegatedness is reflection of the spiritual variegatedness. So it is there in the spiritual world, and then it is the material variegatedness coming from there. The only difference is that the material activities are contaminated by the three modes of material nature. So here, all these rasas are contaminated by three modes of material nature: sattva guna, rajoguna, tamoguna. So whereas the potencies in the spiritual world are all pure, because they are all engaged in the unalloyed devotion, transcendental loving service of the Lord. Why we are getting frustrated here in trying to satisfy our senses is because we are not satisfying the Lord. We are trying to satisfy our own senses. We are trying to satisfy the other senses who will never be satisfied. By whatever means we are trying to satisfy, it will never be satisfied. So in the spiritual world, the Lord is the sublime enjoyer of everything. And living entities, they are all engaged in the transcendental loving service of the loving service, without any contamination of the modes of material nature. So because we are purely engaged in the service of the Lord there, and then we don't have material contamination, we are enjoying with the Lord. Lord, just when he came to the material world, when he did the pastimes in Vrindavana, he showed us that the Gopakumaras, the gopis, are enjoying unlimited pleasure. So what Krishna used to do in daily activity of Krishna, he used to pack lunch, go to the forest, and enjoy with the friends, and then have forest lunch, and fight with the demons. I mean, the Gopakumaras were never worried of their own safety, because Krishna was there, always protecting them. Always, Kamsa used to send different demons to kill Krishna, and then to terrify the Gopakumaras. But they were not scared. Why? Krishna was taking care of them. Each and every demon who were coming to disturb Krishna, and then his pastimes with his Gopakumaras, were killed. The activities in the spiritual world are without any of the difficulties of the material world. So here, every sense gratificatory activity has got a limit, and then also difficulties are there. So the main difficulties in this material world are birth, death, and old age and disease. So senses can be enjoyed to certain extent. So if our teeth has fallen down, our senses are blunt, and then if we cannot enjoy the food properly, and if you have many diseases, you can't enjoy the material senses to a full extent. You'll be limited. So in the modern times, there are many modern problems, like we have diabetes, we have hypertension, we have this, we have that, we cannot eat this much. So doctor says, don't eat these things, don't eat oily foods, don't eat sweet things, don't eat these I mean things which are not suitable for your health. But in the spiritual world there are no such conditions, because the material modes of nature are not acting in the spiritual world. But there is no question of impersonal voidness on the spiritual platform. Also, the impersonal voidness which the impersonalists are speaking are not there in the spiritual world, as suggested by the impersonalists. Devotional service is defined in the Narada Pancharatra as follows: Sarvapadi vinirmuktam tatpatvena nirmalam Hrishikena Hrishikesha Sevanam Bhaktiruchyate. So it is a beautiful verse. Prabhupada always often quotes this verse. Originally, all the senses are produced of the Lord's reservoir of senses. So even the senses, even the material elements, Bhumi, Rapo, Analo, Vayu, Kammano, Buddhi, Revacha, Ahankara, Ityam me, Bhinna, Prakriti me astada. So all the material elements are coming from Krishna. All the material elements are coming from Krishna. We are also coming from Krishna. We are also part of Krishna. Mamai Vamsho, Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta, Sanatana. So we are also part and parcel of Krishna. The material elements are part and parcel of Krishna. The senses are part and parcel of Krishna. So if we are all part and parcel of Krishna, the material objects are part and parcel of Krishna, why we have to endeavor to separately enjoy the senses separate from Krishna? So that means Prabhupada often gives this example. The gulab jamun, if the rasagulla, if nice rasagulla is thinks, oh, why the hand thinks, hand picks up the rasagulla, hand thinks that why I should give it to the mouth? I will eat myself, I will crush it, and then eat it myself. Will that give happiness to the body, to the mind, to the soul? No, it is not giving happiness anywhere, because the gulab jamun, the rasagulla is supposed to, the hand is supposed to pick up, it is supposed to place it in the mouth, and the tongue is supposed to chew it, and then the sweetness of the rasagulla, all the sweet meats is enjoyed by the tongue, and it is also going to the stomach. It is also giving stomach satisfaction to the stomach. It is also giving satisfaction to the mind, the senses. Everything is satisfied in this activity. But if you try to separately, the hands thinks that I am separate. I will crush the gulab jamun. I will crush the rasagulla. It will never get happy. The body will never get happy. The senses will get never happy. Similarly, if we are trying to enjoy separately from Krishna, thinking that we all be happy without Krishna, it is just like this example. We are trying to trying to make fools of ourselves. So we are trying to enjoy separately from the senses of Krishna. Actually, if we want to enjoy really, we have to serve the senses of Krishna. Hrishikena, Hrishikesha, Sevanam, Bhakti Ruchyate. So when we try to serve the senses of Krishna, we'll be satisfied. So how Prabhupada introduced this system? So whatever you eat, you offer it to Krishna and eat the remnants. So that means whatever you are offering, then it becomes bhoga to the Lord. When bhoga is offered to the Lord, then we partake the remnants. It becomes prasad. So this loving exchange makes it very simple, that the simple food what we are trying to enjoy in this material world, by putting many ingredients and then making it very tasty, it becomes transcendental, it becomes spiritual. It is not no more material thing. So Prabhupada introduced the simple thing that we offer whatever we are preparing, in whatever state we are. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yome Bhaktya Pragachati. That means you don't need to be a very big person. You don't need to be a very rich person to please Krishna. You just have to have the minds You have to have the service attitude. You can even just, any person, any poorest of the poor can afford these four things: a leaf, a flower, a fruit, water. Anybody can offer. A leaf, anybody can offer in any part of the world. So this is what Krishna is requiring. Krishna doesn't require all these food preparations, yeah, because he's Atma Rama. So he's self-satisfied. Unlike us, he's self-satisfied. So for us, we have to offer it to Krishna. Uh, like Prabhupada often gives example, when you offer something to somebody, he will eat everything and then he will not leave anything in the plate. So, but Krishna, he is eating through the eyes, and he's eating through the eyes, and then he's accepting the bhoga what we are offering to Krishna, and he's blessing us. So that becomes Mahaprasad. So prasad. So when we partake, so that ordinary food is not ordinary food. It is become spiritual. So when we take such spiritual food, we are purifying ourselves as. So this is the process, simple process, simple devotional process. Prabhupada, advised us, all of us, to do. Just chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, offer food to Krishna, prepared in, you have to prepare lovingly. So I have to serve my deities. I have to offer this to him today. I will offer nice food stuff. I will buy this thing from the market. I will offer this to Krishna today. So this is the thought process. So when this thought process is there, so this thought process is the service. So when you're going to the supermarket to buy fruits for Krishna, when you buy food for Krishna, so you want to prepare, you're planning what to prepare in your mind, and you're making a list, and then you're going to the supermarket and bringing those things. So this is a part of the service. So anybody, any person can do this kind of a service, and thus the perfection of life can be attained simply by purifying the present position of our material activities. So material activities, actually, Prabhupada explained that what devotees are doing and not what non-devotees are doing are identical. They are all identical. But devotees are making the material activity purified by offering everything to Krishna, by keeping Krishna in the center of their activities. But what the materialist is doing, he is doing for himself, or his family, or his society, or the entire world, all the politicians, what they're doing. So they are keeping themselves in the center, or their country in the center, or so it is extended sense gratification. Whatever you are doing, it is extended sense gratification. And purification process begins from the stage of being liberated from the conception of different designations. Oh, I'm this, I'm such and such a person, I'm this, I'm that, I'm a husband of this, I'm head of this family, I'm head of this nation, I'm head of this society. So these designations, sarvapadi, sarvo apadi, vinirmuktam. So upadi means designation. All these designations, sarvapadi vinirmuktam, tatparatena nirbalam. So it will become completely purified. Nirbalam is purified. Everything will become purified. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhaktiruttama Uchyate. So when we offer all these things, all the activities will become purified. Every living entity is engaged in some sort of service, either for the self, or for the family, or for the society, or for the country, etc. But unfortunately, all such services are rendered due to material attachment. So the problem is, we are all thinking that we are this material body, which is a uh, is a truth, but it is not going to be permanent. So this body is going to be taken away any time, and this body is going to be finished. So what happens to the designation will go along with the body. Oh, such and such person was so wonderful, he was doing so much wonderful things for the society, for the nation. So people will remember for some years, some months, maybe some decades. If he's a very great personality for maybe 100 years, 200 years, 300 years, but it's all gone. It will not be permanent. But service to Krishna, when we're doing loving service to Krishna, it will be eternal. What activities we are doing, the simple activities, the material activities, we can do the same simple activities, but we can dovetail all the activities to Krishna conscious activities. It is simple, very simple, but it is difficult in a way that we have to change, we have to mold our life in such a way that we are keeping Krishna in the center for all of our activity. So the attachments of the material affinity may be simply changed to the service of the Lord. So if you like a good car, you can buy it. If you have the capacity to buy the car, you can buy it and utilize in the service of Krishna. And if you want to eat nice foodstuffs, you can buy and then offer it to the Lord, offer it to devotees, and partake in the prasadam. And if you have to want to go to places, you like traveling, go to places of the dham. You go to the places where the devotional activities can be discussed, where the Lord's pastimes with the devotees are glorified. Mayapur, Vrindavan, so many places, even to the temple, to the local temple where you get association of devotees. So, and thus the treatment of being freed from the material attachment begins automatically. So it is a very, very simple process, a very, very simple process. All the activities what you're doing materially can be dovetailed to Krishna consciousness, and then we can keep Krishna in the center for all our activities, and then we can channel our liberation process. And also, not only liberation, beyond liberation, the love of Krishna can be gotten. So the floodgates of love of Godhead was opened by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, so abandon everything and then chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So this process of chanting of the Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. This very simple process is beginning of the purificatory process. And of course, all the other activities what we discussed so far, in eating, in all the activities, whatever we are doing as human beings, we can dovetail all the activities in the process of bhakti, and then we can easily achieve Krishna by through the process of devotional service. The process of liberation is therefore easier through devotional service than by any other methods. So any other methods, if at all we are told to stand on one leg and then meditate, or go to the forest and sit in a secluded place, how many of us will choose to do that activity? None of us will say, "Oh, Prabhuji, it is very, very difficult to do such kind of activity. We cannot go to the forest, leaving our family. There are so many animals there. It will be so much in danger. There is cold, there is heat, there is rain. So that's why Harir Nama, Harir Nama, Harir Nama eva kevalam kalau nasteva gatiranyata. It is said that Harir Nama, Harinama is the only way in this kalau nasteva gatiranyata. In this Kali Yuga, there is no other process recommended. There is no other process which will be successful. No other process will be so beneficial. So starting with the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, starting with the tongue, seven mukhe, I mean, in the Atasya Krishna Namadi na Bhravet Grahamyam Indriye, seven mukhe hi jihvado. We have to start purifying our process, the process of purification through the tongue. So, and also, all the activities mentioned here, any material activity can be dovetailed in Krishna consciousness. It is said that one is subjected to various kinds of tribulations if one is impersonally attached. If you are impersonally attached to the impersonal feature of the Lord, it is very, very difficult. It's just like, in simple terms, it is explained. If you want to get liberation, it's like going to the 100th floor through the steps, and the Bhakti Marg is going through the lift. This is the simple example given for impersonal liberation and personal devotional service to the Lord. So this becomes so sublime, so simple, so enjoyable. So if you go to the temple, we can experience there is dancing, there is kirtan, there is prasadam, there is Krishna Katha. Everything is enjoyable. So what is the difficulty in doing it? So, but The difficulty is in accepting the process, and then committing ourselves to the process. So that's it. So if you are committed to this process, simple process of devotional activity, everything will be so easy and so sublime. Hare Krishna. So I just will stop it here and then open up the floor for any discussions, comments, questions. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. Thank you for this nice class. Yeah, I know we started late. Just you said that Lord Krishna says Patram Pushpam Phalam Doyam. That's very nice. But the Patram is a tulsi leaf. And then if somebody can offer nice bhoga, why do we have to go there? We're traveling. If we are poor, but I don't think anybody is so poor that they just offer. I used to do that before coming into Krishna consciousness. Before I used to offer a flower, a tulsi leaf, and water. That's all. And then I know the process. But very very nice to explain. As you said, this process is not difficult, very easy. If we take it seriously, then we start putting into practice all the requirements, right? So thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. So I'll be leaving now. I'm sorry because I have to leave now. Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. Hare Krishna. If there are any other questions, comments before we close? So if there are no questions or comments, let's end the session by chanting the Maha Mantra once. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, गौर भक्तवृंद की जय।
Prabhuji ki jai.
हरे कृष्णा, हरे कृष्णा।
Thank you, Prabhu. In wonderful class, everyone.
थैंक यू माता जी। हरे कृष्ण।
Hare
थैंक यू प्रभु जी। हरे कृष्ण।